Kevon Looney, who has moved on to New Orleans after agreeing to a 2-year, $16 million deal with the Pelicans, as Shams Charania reported yesterday.
Host was the last straw. That's where you like, I'm done, I'm out.
I guess I wouldn't say that Quentin's my guy, but it was anybody but me, it seemed like, at this point.
After 10 years and 3 championships with the Golden State Warriors, Kevon Looney has signed a 2-year deal to play for the New Orleans Pelicans, the Warriors' most reliable Old Faithful and an often forgotten yet instrumental piece of the championship core. Has had it with the Warriors organization and has decided to team up with former teammate and mentee Jordan Poole. Not only has Looney left Golden State, but in his post-signing interview, he had a few things to say about why he left and even the who.
Which move hurt the most?
I don't know. They all seem the same. I don't put nobody there.
It's no doubt that Kevon Looney struggled after the Warriors won their last championship in 2022, a year that the Warriors saw the most production out of their longest tenured center. However, the fact that the team couldn't afford to keep him might say a lot more about the rest of the team as well as the front office than it does about him. On the bright side, Loon gets a contract he never would have gotten at Golden State to pair up with a player with whom he already has a ton of chemistry, which could lead to more significant playing time. While the Pelicans are not short on centers, they certainly lack a bit of veteran presence in the locker room. It's no surprise they went with a player who has a ton of familiarity with their new point guard. Not only that, there were also rumors that the Pelicans were interested in Jonathan Kuminga. This is very interesting for a number of reasons, not the least of which was spoken on by Loon. So watch the entire video to find out some of the underlying storyline. Let's unravel the details behind Looney's departure and find out what this may mean for both the Pelicans and the Warriors. Now get ready. You're about to get Kevon Looney's time in the Bay started with him getting selected in the 2015 NBA draft with the 30th and final pick of the first round by the Golden State Warriors. While this doesn't seem crazy in hindsight, if you saw Kevon Looney's UCLA performance, you'd be shocked he went this late. That's because the 6'9" forward was one of the top freshmen in the country with an all-round game that included everything from post-ups to a legitimate perimeter game. In his lone freshman season at UCLA, Looney averaged 11.6 points, 9.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and 1.3 steals while shooting 41.5% from 3. On the morning before the draft, however, Looney's stock plunged as ESPN shared that he had surgery the year before his freshman season. An article by the Daily Bruin on June 25th of 2015 details the scenario. It describes a now-deleted article on CBS's website where it was alleged that Kevon Looney underwent hip surgery the year prior, a rumor which his agent denies. That same article also linked to another now-deleted draft analysis by ESPN. That article stated that Looney was fatigued at the end of one of his pre-draft workouts and teams were concerned about his conditioning. Prior to this, Kevon Looney had workouts with the Pistons and Hornets, teams that were selecting in the top 10. Additionally, according to a Bleacher Report mock draft, the Warriors' future big man was projected to go to the Dallas Mavericks with the 21st pick. Now, what team would benefit from Kevon's stock falling just enough to give other teams concern and make them not want to draft him in the first round? Well, it certainly wasn't Utah. Mark Spears tweeted on June 6th of 2015 that ex-UCLA forward Kevon Looney quelled concern about his sports asthma by recently getting through jazz workout in tough altitude, NBA exec said. The same article on Bleacher Report where this was posted also stated that one team had Looney as high as 5th on their board, with the lowest had him going at 30 to the Golden State Warriors. Loon went on to miss the majority of his rookie season with a hip surgery, appearing in only 5 games during the regular season. Looney continued to struggle with his hip injuries for the next few years, coming off the bench and barely getting any minutes. In a way, this was the perfect scenario for Loon, a player who had a high ceiling but wasn't able to live up to it due to health issues, being drafted by a team who needed a talented big to play backup minutes. This obviously worked out well for the Warriors. On the other side of the coin, however, could this have stunted the growth of Kevon Looney? In a rigid outside-in motion offense, Loon's job would be rather simple. Set screens, grab rebounds, and find Steph or Klay on a relocate 3. Even though his true position was a power forward and he put the ball down on the floor in college, there won't be any of that on Steve Kerr's watch. While Loon shot it well from 3, he was relegated to less than 1 attempt per game to start out his NBA career, to not shooting them at all as he became more experienced, taking only the late shot clock buzzer beaters. This was likely simpler and acceptable for Kevon Looney's first few years of recovery. But what about after? What Looney started his career doing is exactly what he finished doing. Surrounded by NBA champions Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green in their prime, there would be no expectation of anything other than a supportive role. While we started to see him try to develop a jumper later on in his career to allow the Warriors to compete inside, it just never came to fruition. He ended up starting in 80 games in the 22 season, where it seemed he had a rebirth of sorts at 25 years old, and even the following season where he went for a career high in minutes played at 23.9. This was Loon's best year at 7 points and 9.3 rebounds per game. Unfortunately, he didn't live up to the expectations set during the 2022 playoffs, which signaled the Warriors' need for a mobile big man that can fill that role. In comes Trayce Jackson-Davis, a late second-rounder who started a total of 37 games and took away a number of Looney's minutes. It got even worse the following year, when the Warriors drafted yet another late second-round pick in Quinton Post. With a mobile big man in the post and a stretch big for the perimeter, the Warriors could hardly find minutes for Kevon Looney. Things really came to a standoff, however, in this year's playoffs, as Loon explains in this part of the clip.
Really? It was not one moment. It was not one moment. It was more of a like even this year, prior to the playoffs, like we blowing against Steven Adams. This is what I do, and I'm still not really. They're not giving me the chance to really let me do what I do. It's kind of like, all right, y'all don't trust me. I thought y'all trust me. Right? They put me in that at the end of Game 7. All we had to wait to get to that point. That's what kind of go like, all right, y'all really don't think I'm not good no more? What's the problem?
During the Rockets series, Steven Adams was giving the Warriors fits. Without any young athletic players on the floor and outside shots not falling, the Warriors were struggling against Steven Adams. Steve Kerr resorted to intentionally fouling Adams to force Rockets head coach Ime Udoka to take him out of the game. The Adams factor alone almost cost the Warriors the series before the Warriors finally ended it in 7 games. This was the boiling point for Kevon Looney, who likely didn't see a way forward ahead of either Post or TJD back into the Warriors lineup. His limited skill set, which never developed beyond the basic screen setting and hitting the cutter or the 3, was easily replaced by a younger player, turning Loon into a dinosaur before he even hit his prime. How much of this is on Loon and how much of it is on the system that brought the team 4 championships? It's safe to say what Looney sacrificed was best for the team. However, where does that leave him as an individual player that was not even able to earn himself a spot on the very team he sacrificed for? It's obvious that what he's done for the team left him in a lesser spot as an individual. We can argue about whether the shorter career with a sacrifice to win is better than one where he doesn't win and is arguably a better player. However, at this juncture, the market for Kevon's skill set is quite small, and with the Warriors trying to balance their budget, Loon's contract just doesn't fit at anything above a veteran's minimum. With the team struggling to remain competitive and the top 3 salaries commanding 90% of the salary cap, the Warriors just don't have the ability to pay him what he's worth. Another team with a similar build and more cap space might be able to, however, and that's where the Pelicans come in. The Pelicans offered Looney a 2-year, $16 million deal, the most lucrative contract at the center position for New Orleans. With superstars Zion Williamson, Jordan Poole, and DeJounte Murray signed, the Pelicans have a formidable young trio. This could be one of the most shocking under-the-radar rebuilds seen in recent times. The Pelicans with other pieces have shown that they can play with the best of them when healthy and could have a real shot at contending with the current roster. With Trey Murphy and Ives Messi rounding out the starting 5, don't be surprised if they're a playoff team in the upcoming season. Looney's experience and locker room presence could prove to be invaluable as a player with championship experience, as well as experience alongside their new lead guard who will know how to get the most out of him. What you won't hear anywhere else, however, is that considering Looney was chosen to be Poole's mentor when he was drafted to the team, the locker room punch not only affected Poole, but Looney as well. Loon felt he failed Poole by not doing more to prevent that from happening, which paints a more vivid picture of why he struggled following the 22 season. Both Loon and Wiggins suffered a similar decline at the same time, as both were close with Poole. However, Wiggins additionally had to deal with his dad falling ill and eventually passing away. Kevon's drop in performance kind of fell by the wayside, and most simply assumed he was old and slow. However, it was clear that the locker room was fractured. It was just unknown just to what extent it affected each player. There's absolutely no doubt that how the Warriors front office, ownership, and coaching handled that locker room issue impacted the current outcome. At just 28 years old, however, don't be surprised if Looney, in a new environment, has a bounce-back year with the Pelicans. All signs point to him playing a lot better with a larger contract and likely a more defined role without a ton of expectations and a less mentally taxing environment. If there's one thing I can predict, however, it's that the Warriors fan base will sincerely miss everything he did for the team, the sacrifices he made, and for being the ultimate professional and unspoken leader behind closed doors. Let me know if you guys agree with my assessment of the Kevon Looney situation. How much do you think the punch affected Looney back then and this decision to leave now? Did he do the right thing in leaving Golden State to team up with Poole on a bigger salary? And lastly, does this mean that we're going to see a bounce back from Kevon Looney that Steve Kerr was unable to get out of him? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Just be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swoosh.